But most of you, if you think back right now, wouldn't you agree with me that you had a pretty magical childhood? But wouldn't you agree with me also that as time went on and you began to quote unquote grow up, as they call it, you forgot that magic to the point where eventually you don't even really remember it? Maybe sometimes when you catch a smell walking down the road in spring or summer, there's a nostalgic smell that hits your sensory impulses and brings you back to a childhood memory where you remember some of that childhood. Nostalgia can bring us back, ladies and gentlemen, to our childhood, to our youth. And it can make you remember certain things, because when you remember certain things are firing in your brain the same way that they were when the memory was first scribed into your cognitive framework. Hope that makes sense. But wouldn't you agree that you consecutively felt the youth of your childhood, the magic of your childhood being diminished to the point where I'm just a grown up now, bro. It's all about working. It's all about going to school and remembering things. I'm not a baby anymore, bro. Often kids will do this. They'll try to mimic the unconscious friends that they have. They all kind of share this collective hive mind reprogramming, where they change their identity to fit in with what they think is popular. This is what school is for largely, folks. It's a re-engineering of you. Your genes, your self-image, all of it, the repositioning of your assemblage point. Can you see how this culture redefines you? And that through attaching to the redefined image of yourself, you sell out and you give up on your normal trajectory in life. We were all the byproducts of being children that were told to stop playing. It sounds kind of hippity, but it's true. But I want you to really think about it right now. Do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, the magic of your childhood, and do you remember consecutively losing it to the point where you're like this new person? You're all grown up now. All of the experiences that led up to the initial breaking away from our youthful, magical self are pieces of mind control. To the point where the assemblage point is now finally fixed. For instance, you're born with your assemblage point here, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the new you this is the part of you that's being exposed to culture, to friends and their opinions. This is the part of you that's exposed to parents who told you that you couldn't amount to anything or whatever the fuck happened during your childhood. You have all these experiences, okay? And it just, how would I say this? I need a better metaphor. So this is you, and each time, say your position, for instance, let's say your assemblage point was at the bottom of your feet. And when it's at the bottom of your feet, you feel innocent. Everything's magical, because this is your assemblage point when you're young is typically connected to the God grid in a much different way than when you're older. But all the trauma and all the programming and all the bullshit and having to fit in slowly agitates the assemblage point into moving. And as it does, you forget certain things. You become a different you, to the point where when the assemblage point is finally in its new fixed position, that everything, all of that identity is gone now. However, what's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can enter specific states of altered consciousness through things such as, but not limited to, shamanism, where you actually can go back and experience the repositioning of your assemblage point back to the same point that it was in when you were younger, and you're there again. It is the trippiest, most blissfully awkward and weird thing to actually have your repositioned assemblage point forcibly moved into its old position. And you remember everything. You're home again. You see, the way that our assemblage point is positioned largely dictates how we interact with the Kundalini energy, with the telluric kingdoms of the earth, with the ether, with the angelic kingdoms, with the ancestral plane, with the spirit kingdom. This is some incredible stuff, folks. Read Carlos Castaneda's book. If you're in books, plural, if you're interested in learning more about the assemblage point, pick up a book called The Art of Dreaming. So I don't have time. I don't want to keep boring you guys with all this rambling about how we're programmed or how we become programmed, but it has a lot to do with our energetic field, not just our assemblage point, but that's a huge part of it. The way that our energetic field oscillates when we're younger is much different. in comparison to what it does when we're older. Our aura changes when you're really young, when you're an infant. You can actually see these fields to a large extent because these fields are how your ancestors and your grandparents communicate to you and through you. This is how God communicates to you, ladies and gentlemen, or through you.